Hello Year 10 and welcome to today's lesson. Because we have finished the infection and response part now, we are going back a bit and we're going to do some revision. So we're going to review cells this lesson. So I want you to write down the date and the title and the LO please. And you don't have a starter task today. So that's why there's a big empty space on the screen. So pause the video here and I'll continue on to the next slide in 5 seconds. Right, first of all, we're going to draw an animal cell. So I want you to draw this along with me, please. You don't have to colour it in. I've just done it so you can see it easier. So just draw a big blob for an animal cell, please. And then we're going to draw a big dark circle. And then we're going to draw some ovals with squiggles in. And we're going to draw lots of dots, and that is all there is to it, to an animal cell. But obviously we need to know what these things are and what they do. So on the very outside we have the cell membrane, and that controls what goes in and out of the cell. So it lets some things in and it doesn't let other things in. It lets some things out and doesn't let other things out, depending on what the cell needs. Okay, the big circle is the nucleus, and that contains the DNA. The small little dots are the ribosomes, and that is for protein synthesis. So synthesis is just a fancy word for making something. So ribosomes make protein. Okay, and then the ovals with squiggles in, that are mitochondria, and that is the site of aerobic respiration / it provides energy. So it provides energy for the cell. Now, it's very important that you say provides or supplies energy. Don't say it makes energy for the cell, because energy can't be created. So energy can't be created or destroyed. Therefore, the mitochondria provide or supply energy to the cell. And the last one that everyone always forgets, because it looks like a big empty space, is the cytoplasm, and that is the site of chemical reactions. So I want you to make sure that you've got a beautiful animal cell on your page, and that you have all of these labels and the functions of each of the organelles. So organelles are just the things inside a cell that have a function, they have a purpose. Okay, plant cell. So again, draw this along with me, please. So you've got a rectangle, and then you've got a line on the outside, and then another line on the outside. Okay, you need to draw a big circle. So we should know from doing the animal cell that this is a nucleus. You need to draw a big blob in the middle. You need to draw a mitochondria. If you're doing this in colour, then please make this organelle green. If you're not doing it in colour, don't worry about it. But if you are doing it in colour, do it green, please. So draw something that looks a bit like a mitochondria, but it's not a mitochondria. And then draw the ribosomes. Excuse me. So we will go through the ones that we already know first. So we've got a cell membrane. Make sure this is pointing to the inner layer, okay? It's this medium green colour that is the cell membrane. We've got the nucleus, we've got the ribosomes, we've got the cytoplasm that everyone always forgets, we've got the mitochondria, and then we start moving on to the stuff that is only in plant cells. So we have a permanent vacuole. So this thing in the middle is a permanent vacuole that contains cell sap. Now in your exams, they might ask you what the difference between a plant cell and an animal cell is. Please make sure you put the word permanent vacuole, because some animal cells do have very small vacuoles that aren't always there. So that's why we say plants have permanent vacuole. So in every plant cell, every regular plant cell, there is a vacuole, and it is permanent and it is big, so it's always there. This down here is a chloroplast, and that is the site of photosynthesis. So the reason I told you to make this green is because chloroplasts contain chlorophyll, and that is the pigment needed for photosynthesis, and it's what makes the plant green. So chloroplasts are full of chlorophyll, which are green. And then the last one, on the very outside one, so this dark green colour, we have a cell wall, and that supports and strengthens the cell. Okay, so make sure you've got all of that down, please, and I want you to highlight the 3 things that are different in a plant cell. So there's the cell wall, the chloroplast, and the permanent vacuole. Everything else is the same as an animal cell, but plant cells have 3 extra things. If we had chloroplasts, we would be green and we wouldn't need to eat food, we'd just need to stay out in the sun for a bit. Okay, so we definitely don't have chloroplasts. If we had a cell wall, then we wouldn't be able to move very well, we'd be stuck upright. And if we had a permanent vacuole, well, I don't really know what would happen to us, really. But we don't have a permanent vacuole because we don't need cell sap. Okay, so those are the 3 extra things that plant cells have. Moving on to bacteria cell. So again, draw this. So we have an oval shape, and like the plant cell, it's got 2 layers around the outside. Okay, and then give it a little squiggle, and then a little squiggle on the inside too, and ribosomes. Okay, so the medium purple colour, that is a cell membrane. The dark purple colour on the outside, that is a cell wall. So remember, if it's got a cell wall, the cell wall is always on the very outside, and then the next one in is the cell membrane. Here we have a flagellum or a flagella. So flagella is just the plural version of a flagellum, so sometimes it has more than one. In your exam, if you write flagellum or flagella, you're still going to get the mark. It doesn't matter which one you use. And that is used for movement, because bacteria cells are single-celled, so if they're going to get anywhere, they need a little tail for movement. But not all bacteria have flagella, and some have lots of flagella. But when we're drawing it, just draw one. In your exam, it might have 3 or whatever. As long as you can identify what it is, it just looks like a little tail, but it's important you don't call it a tail. It's a flagella or a flagellum. We have the ribosomes, we already know what those do, so protein synthesis. We have the cytoplasm, the site of chemical reactions. And then this is the different bit here. This is a DNA loop. So before, we drew a big blue circle and coloured it in, and the DNA was contained inside that nucleus. That's not the case in bacteria cells. The DNA is free in the cytoplasm. It looks like just a big squiggle, but that is the DNA. And that is it for the bacteria cell. So I want you to make sure you've got all that down, please. Okay, comparing eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. So there are 2 different types of cells. Eukaryotic, the main thing is that eukaryotic cells have a membrane-bound nucleus. So remembering the 3 types of cells we just drew, which ones have a membrane-bound nucleus? And the answer to that is plant cells and animal cells. So both plant cells and animal cells have a nucleus, therefore they are eukaryotic. So karyo means nucleus, pro means before, so prokaryotic cells existed before the nucleus existed. So that is the main difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus, prokaryotic cells don't. So eukaryotic is plant and animal cells, prokaryotic is bacteria cells. And I know they're big words and it's going to be confusing to think, was prokaryotic animal and plant cells or was it bacteria cells? Which way round are they? The way I remember it is you have eukaryotic cells. So you as a human, you as an animal have eukaryotic cells. Okay, and then plants also have eukaryotic cells because they have a nucleus. So the differences between them: eukaryotes have a nucleus, prokaryotes have DNA in the cytoplasm, not in the nucleus. Eukaryotic cells contain organelles. Prokaryotic cells have ribosomes, which are organelles, but they don't have all the other organelles that eukaryotic cells have. So there's a lack of organelles in prokaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells are very large and complex. Prokaryotic are small and simple. Eukaryotic cells are evolved from prokaryotic cells, so they came after prokaryotic cells. And prokaryotic cells are the oldest type of cell. Okay, and eukaryotic cells can be multi or single cellular, and prokaryotic cells are only single-celled organisms. So just make sure you've got a list like this one on here, and I will continue in 5 seconds. Right, what we're going to do is a Venn diagram. So you need to draw 2 circles, please. Or if you're not confident in your circle drawing skills, you can just do 3 lists. So remember, the way these things work is this circle will contain eukaryotic information. This one in the middle will contain information from both eukaryotic and prokaryotic. And this one will be only prokaryotic information. Okay, and I want you to try and fill this in, please. So here, only things that apply to eukaryotes. Here, only things that apply to prokaryotes. And in the middle, things that apply to both of them. Okay, so it can be the organelles they have, it can be how old they are, etc. Okay, so I want you to try and do this by yourself, and I'm going to put the answers up in 5 seconds. So pause the video here, please. Okay, and there we go. So eukaryotes, we've got they're evolved from prokaryotes. They're large, they're complex, they have a nucleus, they have organelles. Prokaryotes, we've got that they're the oldest type of cell. They're small, they're simple, they have free DNA, and they lack organelles. And in the middle, we've got they both have cytoplasm, they both have DNA, they both have ribosomes, and they both have a membrane. Now, cell wall isn't mentioned anywhere here because not all eukaryotic cells have a cell wall. Okay, so we couldn't really put it in the middle one. So if you put cell wall somewhere on the diagram, you don't need to mark it wrong because it's a bit, that one's a bit confusing. So just don't include cell walls on this diagram because not all eukaryotic cells have them, but prokaryotic cells do. And there's nowhere really to put it on a Venn diagram. Okay, so that's the end of today's lesson. I've attached some questions on Show My Homework, which I would like you to complete, please. I hope you all have a wonderful day.